Like and subscribe right now, or this spider will crawl on your face when you're sleeping.
10 ship launches that went horribly wrong. When a ship launch goes horribly wrong, anything can happen. Indeed, there have been numerous maritime tragedies that have caused devastating loss in life, not to mention unfathomable loss in property. The United Nations estimates that since the dawn of sea voyaging, there have been more than 3 million shipwrecks lying spread across the different ocean bodies around the planet. So, in today's video, we'll take a look at 10 ship launches that were destined for failure. Some of these incidents resulted in the deaths of thousands of merchants, captains, and passengers as they sank to the dark and ominous trenches of the ocean floor. Number 10. RMS Titanic. The Titanic ship launch is no doubt one of the most famous maritime tragedies in modern history. At the time, it was the largest and most developed cruise ship in the world, having been built in Ireland at the Harland and Wolff shipyard. Engineers at the time were so confident about the Titanic that they labeled it as unsinkable, but they would eat their own words soon enough. On April 10, 1912, the Titanic set sail from Southampton on its way to New York City. Tragedy struck on April 14, 1912, when the Titanic hit an iceberg while sailing in the North Atlantic Ocean. It is estimated that 1,517 people lost their lives that very day, making it one of the most devastating maritime disasters in modern history. After many unsuccessful expeditions and attempts to discover the Titanic wreckage, its location was finally discovered thanks to a French-American collaboration expedition that was carried out in 1985. Numerous artifacts and antiques were collected from the shipwreck, and most of them are now held at a display in the National Maritime Museum in England. There have been numerous schemes put in place to raise the ship from its wreckage area, but the ship is in such a fragile condition that such plans have been abandoned altogether. Today, the wreckage of the RMS Titanic is under the protection of the 2001 UNESCO Convention. Before we move on, I've got a little challenge for you that'll take 5 seconds to complete. So here's the deal. You just leave a like on this video, smash that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell, and you will get 25 years of amazing luck. Try it, it really works. Number 9. RMS Empress of Ireland. Barely 2 years after the Titanic, another ship launch will be remembered as a devastating event in Canada's history. On the 29th of May 1914, the Canadian ocean liner RMS Empress of Ireland sank while traversing the mouth of the St. Lawrence River. The vessel was heading from Quebec City on its way to Liverpool, carrying about 1,057 passengers and 420 crew members. The ship collided with the Norwegian collier SS Storstad as a result of thick fog, sinking and killing more than 1,012 people. Currently, the wreck of the Empress Ireland lies in the shallows of the Lawrence River. There have been many reports that divers have recovered brass bells, silver bars, and stern telemeters worth thousands of dollars from the ship. Number 8. MS ESTONIA. The terrifying thing about ship launches is that when they leave the docks, you expect them to arrive safely in their respective destinations, right? But sometimes that's not how life works. Indeed, the Estonia ship casualty that took place in the Baltic Sea is one of the greatest maritime incidents in European history. The cruise ship, MS Estonia, was constructed by Meyer-Werft in their German shipyard. Despite the trustworthiness in German engineering, everything that could go wrong did eventually go wrong on the 28th of September 1994. The ship was heading to Stockholm from the province of Tallinn when it sank unexpectedly. More than 800 horrified and helpless victims lost their lives that day, and many of the bodies of the dead were never recovered from the Baltic Sea. To this date, the cause of the tragedy remains a mystery. There have been a lot of theories, however, brought forth to try and rationalize the disaster. One of the more popular ones is that the ship came across terrible weather conditions and the captain could barely navigate through them. Some researchers disregard this and claim a more sinister cause behind the works. According to some sources, the ship was purposely sunk because of its initial military involvement. The claim is that rival countries of Estonia planted bombs in the compartment of the ship to destroy it. After the terrible tragedy ensued, families of the victims demanded the vessel to be raised from its wreckage location in order for the deceased to be given a proper burial. Additionally, they wanted the ship to be analyzed to discover just what had caused the accident. Interestingly, the Swedish government decided to bury the vessel in the sea with millions of rocks and pebbles being dropped on the ship's wreckage site. To this day, the area and exploration of the wreckage is forbidden. Is it just me, or do you sense something fishy going on? Number 7. The Andrea Doria. It was the night of July 26, 1956 when tragedy struck the Italian ocean liner Andrea Doria. The ship collided with another Swedish ship, MS Stockholm. By the time the dust had settled, 46 lives were lost at sea. The Andrea Doria, which had 1,134 passengers and 572 crew members on board, was traveling to New York City. Nevertheless, despite the severity of the accident, many of the passengers and crew members were saved thanks to the swift communication by the ship's captain to land officials, as well as the fast implementation of rescue protocols by the crew. After the vessel sank, a duo of divers by the name of Joseph Fox and Peter Gimbel were able to locate the ship's wreckage location. To this day, the vessel sits 240 feet below the North Atlantic surface and has become a popular diving site for scuba divers. Number 6. HMS Victory. We now take a trip back in time to one of the most infamous sea launches of the 18th century. Indeed, the Royal Navy HMS Victory was a 100-gun ship that was launched in 1773 and had been traversing the seas successfully before 1744 when it sank unexpectedly. Considered one of the British Navy's worst disasters in the English Channel, the ship's sinking claimed the lives of more than 1,000 sailors. The ship's wreckage could not be found for more than 250 years. But in 2008, the Odyssey Marine Expedition of the United States discovered the shipwreck about 43 miles from where the ship encountered a heavy storm. As a military wreck, the remains of HMS Victory are considered property of the British government according to maritime laws. Number 5. MV Dona Paz. When the MV Dona Paz, a Philippine-registered passenger ferry, launched in December of 1987, it was heading from Leyte Island all the way to Manila. Tragedy struck when the ship collided with an oil tanker known as the MT Vector. The catastrophic collision had devastating effects. When the dust had settled, the accident had claimed the lives of more than 4,300 people. According to reports, the vessel had been overcrowded with passengers, did not have a functioning radio, and there were very limited life jackets to go around. The disaster has even been dubbed the Asian Titanic, with most of the ship and the passengers' bodies being burnt by the fire caused by the collision. Number 4. The Carpathia. While the British passenger ship RMS Carpathia is famous for being the ship that rescued the survivors of the Titanic, it's had its share of maritime accidents itself. However, the most infamous disaster took place in 1917 when the Carpathia was attacked and destroyed by a German submarine during World War I. On that fateful day, the Carpathia was suddenly and violently attacked by 3 deadly torpedoes released from the German U-boat as it ferried a convoy heading from Liverpool to Boston. 5 people were killed in the attack. The ship sank to the ocean's depths, only to be discovered almost a century later in 1999, 298 kilometers west of Land's End, sitting upright in more than 600 feet of water. Number 3. RMS Republic. The RMS Republic was first built and launched in 1903, but little did people know that it would go down in history as a Navy disaster. In 1909, the RMS Republic collided with the Lloyd Italiano as it traveled from New York City to Gibraltar. 6 people lost their lives in the collision. Since the day it sank, there have been rumors circulating that the Republic was carrying a lot of valuables, including gold and silver before she went down in Nantucket, Massachusetts. The location of the wreckage was later discovered by Captain Martin Bay Url in 1981. It was found to be lying upright in 250 feet of water about 80 kilometers south of Nantucket Island. And now we've come to the best pick of the day. Launching a ship can be a risky affair. There's a lot that needs to be considered beforehand, such as the buoyancy of the ship, the weight, and the nature of the sea. When all is said and done, it's safe to do a ship launch during a calm tide, unless you'd like to see a ship topple over like in this picture. Number 2. RMS Lusitania. When it first launched in 1906, the British ocean liner RMS Lusitania was considered the largest passenger ship in the world. Unfortunately, tragedy struck on the 7th of May 1915 after the liner was violently attacked by a German U-boat off the southern coast of Ireland. More than 1,962 passengers and 1,191 crew members lost their lives that day. The disaster occurred during the 202nd crossing of the RMS Lusitania from Ireland to England. Because the liner sank, it was never revived back to its days of luster and glory. All that remains is its wreckage that sits in 300 feet of water 11 miles south of Kinsale, Ireland. Number 1. The Fleet of Kublai Khan. Considered one of the most catastrophic and infamous ship launches of olden times, the Fleet of Kublai Khan will always be remembered in maritime history. Kublai Khan had made 2 attempts to invade Japan, one in 1274 and the other in 1281. By some divine power, both attempts were wrecked by storms, killing tens of thousands of his troops. Centuries later, several antiques and relics belonging to the soldiers of the vessels were found close to the seabed of the Amari Gulf. In 2001, researchers discovered the entire shipwreck that originated from Fujian in South China. And as recently as 2015, archaeologists have discovered a Mongolian ship close to the bay in the city of Matsura near the island of Kyushu. And that's all she wrote in this video, folks. Do you know any other horrible ship launches that occurred near your area? Let us know in the comment section down below. Want more videos that would probably still exist until the end of time? Click on any of the videos you see on the screen. As always, thanks for watching.